Chapter 2. "What the hell is going on?" asked the president of the Eagle Union as his advisors and protective service moved him to the lower bunker. "We're going into high alert. DEFCON 2 is in effect," said the defense secretary, placing a folder into the hands of the president. The president opened the folder and began going through it. "Give me a quick rundown." At 0900, a fleet departed from the port of LA with a ship of 10,000 wisdom cubes bound for our naval bases in the east, Naval Base Alpha in the Kansai region, and Shipbuilders X-Ray in Okinawa. At 1300, the fleet were intercepted by two siren fleets, one from the south and another from the west. However, our fleet met some heavier resistance than expected, said the defense secretary. "What's this?" asked the president as he looked over the photos given to him. "Some sort of new siren model? We're not sure what it is yet. No intelligence reports. We've reached out to all departments in the Union and of the Royal Navy," stated the defense secretary. "Get me on the line with the Azur Lane," ordered the president. "Already on it, sir. And the Confederation of Independent Nations," stated the defense secretary. The president looked at him with confusion as they entered the situation room. "What the hell is this thing?" asked the TV operator of the AC-130. "It's some sort of siren battleship," replied Ark Royal. "That's no battleship," said Enterprise, her face barely hiding her fear. "Look at the runways," followed up Queen Elizabeth. "We've spotted multiple point defense systems on board. Sea-Wiz along both sides, rocket batteries," listed the IR sensor operator. Well, what do we have here?" asked a voice over the communications of the plane and the various ships. "Obstructor," gasped Warspite. "That's right, you little runt." "Warspite, is it? Greatest battleship the Royal Navy can put up? Well, let's see how your retrofits have helped you thus far." "What do you want?" asked Enterprise. "Anyone who dares stand before the Azur Lane will be crushed under it." "Brave words for an insignificant creature like you," laughed Obstructor, "but ultimately meaningless. I've come by just because I was in the area, and I felt like helping myself to some of your cubes. Hand them over now, and I'll end you mercifully. Or you can always resist and be my fun for the next 15 minutes. "How the hell does she know that we're moving cubes?" asked Hammond. "You think just because you've learned to hide your communications from us, we can't find others to listen in on? Port radios, satellite transmissions, whatever it may be, the nature of human stupidity is all the same. What fools you are to think that just because you've developed technology, you have a chance to go toe-to-toe with me," she pontificated. "Enough of your words. Azur Lane, commence assault," ordered Enterprise. Warspite and Queen Elizabeth both moved up, firing their main guns on the ship that they were attacking. However, before the shells could even finish arcing, the point defense systems locked onto the shells and shot them out of the air. "That's impossible," gasped Warspite. "Oh yeah? You might stop a shell, but you won't stop this," said Hammond, arming a rocket for the ship that they were opposing. Hammond's rocket left its tube at sonic speed. However, much like the shells of Warspite and Queen Elizabeth, the guns quickly locked on and shot it down in a heartbeat. "You morons! Nothing can get through my new armor. My sisters were foolish to think they needed to invest so much in physical armor. But why bear armor when the enemy cannot even hit you?" She laughed as she relished in her newfound power. "Siren technology is decades ahead of yours. I doubt you'll ever beat me." Obstructor spotted Sheffield being supported by Belfast and smiled. "How about a little game for your vanguard?" The Azur Lane ship stood back, waiting to see the move of Obstructor. Just then the sides of the lower hull lifted, exposing installations of gunboats. "Get ready!" called Belfast. The Azur Lane ships poised themselves quickly to be able to accept the incoming wave of gunboats. The first two vanguards dispatched from the hull of Obstructor's ship and began engaging. "Utilize your auxiliary guns," ordered Warspite as she trained hers over the Azur Lane's vanguard. "Gun ready," stated the 105 gunner. "Awaiting orders to engage," called the Sizu of the AC-130. "Weapons free. Knock out anything that moves west of our location." replied Enterprise. The Sizzo began picking targets, opening up on them with the 40mm and 105mm cannons. Belfast held up her wrist-mounted guns in one arm, and her sister craft in the other, moving from gunboat to gunboat, and unleashing small volleys of fire. Sheffield, in spite of being injured, opened up with a volley of her own shots that rained on a group of gunboats that began firing their 25mm cannons. The 25mm burst excited the water around Reno, causing her to shield her eyes from the salty splash. Another gunboat's fire struck Sheffield, igniting a part of her rigging. The merchant ship's forward gun moved quickly from one target to another, letting off quick bursts of 40mm AA fire onto the gunboats. Though the boats were easy to destroy, their sheer number led many to make it to the holes of the Azur Lane vanguard. "Have craft on deck!" exclaimed Ark Royal. "We cannot lose air superiority," responded Enterprise. "Scramble your jets. I want fighters and ECM planes in the air." Enterprise picked her planes for launch and drew her bow, launching a squadron of F-14 planes into the air and another of EF-111s. Obstructor growled as her radar began flooding with phantoms, but then smiled as she launched her own planes. "So, the puny humans have finally learned to jam our radar. So be it. That won't save you anyway." She laughed, launching yet another wave of planes. "We can't get hits on their gunboats as they leave the dock. Those point defense systems keep taking out our shells," yelled the Sizzo to the fleet girls. "That Sea-Whiz has the air around her locked down," grunted Queen Elizabeth as hers and Warspite shells were shot down. "Try using armor-piercing," said Tennessee as she unleashed a volley of her own armor-piercing shells. The shells flew towards her target but did not make it either. "Which ones?" asked Warspite as she looked through her magazine. "Do you have any tungsten sabo?" asked Tennessee. "A couple," called back Warspite. "Give those a shot then," yelled back Tennessee. "Cover while I rearm," called Warspite. Reno moved back to provide AA cover for Warspite from the planes that were now flying over them. Reno, Hammond, and the two of us carriers were focused on the planes. Laffey, Javelin, protect Belfast and Sheffield. The four of you, take out those bloody PT boats, ordered Ark Royal. Obstructor trained two of her guns on the AC-130 and ordered a group of planes to target it. "Guns locked onto us," yelled the electronic warfare officer. "How the hell do they have a good lock?" "Increase the radar delay by 200 milliseconds, yelled the co-pilot. Obstructor let off a burst of fire from her cannons, narrowly missing the plane and grazing it in a few places, as it pulled quickly away from the ship. "Too close, man," yelled the Sizzo before trying to reset his targeting system. "TV needs recalibrating. Are you tracking on IR?" "Affirmative, good line of sight on her," replied the IR operator. "Alright, I'm switching feeds," replied the Sizzo. "Oh shit," said the co-pilot. "Got bogies on our ass." "Gun is ready to fire," cheered Warspite as she aimed her guns at the ship in front of her. "We need support. Get these planes off of us," called the pilot of the AC-130. "On it," said Enterprise, ordering her own planes to target those targeting the AC-130. "Firing," shouted Warspite as she let off a salvo of Sabo rounds onto the Obstructor ship. The close-in weapon system shifted target from the AC-130 to the incoming rounds, shooting into them but not being able to destroy them, all due to their lack of any charges in the rounds. However, the damage done by the Sea-Whiz was enough to decrease the damage done by the Sabos, as they were no longer the flying needles that they needed to be to penetrate deep, leading to most only causing surface damage. One Sabo landed center deck, especially angering Obstructor, as it deformed it. "You damaged my big surprise for you." "Well, that's fine. I'll have plenty of time to fix it when I crush you." "Who knows? You might even live long enough to see it." "For a second." The F-14s that moved in to protect the AC-130 managed to take out two of the planes chasing it. However, on realizing that they were being chased, another two of the Siren jets broke off to engage the pursuing planes from the rear, leaving just one Siren jet on the trail of the AC-130. "Viper 3, be advised, we must break off, you're on your own," called out the pilot of one of the F-14s. "Shit," cursed the pilot. "We're pulling her down, full power to the turboprops, dive!" "We're getting knocking on engine number 2, yelled the flight engineer. "Siren jet's got an IR lock on us," warned the electronic warfare officer. Deploy flares! Deploy flares! Ordered the co-pilot. The AC-130 let off a burst of flares before quickly pulling up as 2 heat-seeking missiles from the Siren jet flew into the cloud. Maintain course, Viper 3, we are tracking, ordered Ark Royal. Hurry up and get them off of us before they get another lock, yelled the pilot. They got a radar lock on us now, warned the sensor operator. A burst of rounds came from the Siren jet but missed. Increasing jammer output, yelled the electronic warfare officer. Come on, growled the pilot. I have a lock. Engaging, said Hammond as she let off 2 radar-guided missiles. The first exploded just before the Siren jet, the other right on top of it, tearing the jet in half as it plummeted into the sea on a fireball. Good save, Hammond. We owe you, said the Sizzo. Don't celebrate too early, warned Tennessee. No worries, we're not, replied the pilot as he began moving to get the plane back in position. Our shells that do make it through aren't doing anything, cried Queen Elizabeth. What do we do? We're almost out of sabots, replied Warspite. We gotta think fast. It looks like she's giving us some respite, stated Enterprise as the side of Obstructor's hull began closing up. Well, looks like you've beaten back my first wave, but that was easy. Now, let's make things a bit harder. Behold my aerial performance, laughed Obstructor.